Just several weeks ago, the Russian Defense Ministry published a video showing the alleged smuggling of oil by Islamic State into Turkey. Ankara denied the accusations, but now a Norwegian newspaper claims Turkey is buying oil from ISIL based on a report compiled by a consulting company back in July.
Despite the fact that NATO is heavily involved in the fight against ISIS, a report from the Norwegian Foreign Ministry reveals a secret that Turkey, a NATO country, is buying oil from the terrorists. Secret-held documents reveal that most of the oil that ISIS has smuggled out of Syria and Iraq has ended up in Turkey. The report was authored by the consulting group Rystad Energy on behalf of the Norwegian Foreign Ministry.
We contacted the Norwegian Foreign Ministry for details. It confirmed that the report was put together by an international consulting company and is just one of several sources. An Iraqi MP and former national security advisor thinks it's time NATO countries took more responsibility for investigating Turkey's business with ISIS.
Turkey is playing not a very clean game, especially with the smuggling the Iraqi oil and Syrian oil through the borders and selling it in the black market in Turkey. Now the independent European countries like Norway and other, and probably the European Union as well, is investigating this because, you know, Turkey is a member of NATO country, and I think NATO has, there is a responsibility on NATO itself to investigate this properly.
Now, young Americans are increasingly turning their backs on a college education, according to the latest figures, not because they don't want to study, but because they simply can't afford to. RT's Igor Piskunov investigates.
Wanna fight crime, you should go to college. If you wanna write rounds in your head with knowledge. If you wanna stare at grass, don't go to college. But for everything else, you should go to college.
Wise advice from the First Lady, without a doubt. Unfortunately, every year fewer Americans are able to take it.
It is a national disgrace that hundreds of thousands of young Americans do not go to college, not because they are unqualified, but simply because they cannot afford it.
Two words: student debt. Over $1.2 trillion of it across the nation, to be exact. It's even eating through the pockets of presidential hopefuls.
I pay for two college tuitions right now, one at Princeton and one at Notre Dame. And I can tell you that they're the most opaque bills you'll ever see in your life. If you got that bill for dinner with that little bit detail, you wouldn't pay it. You'd send it back.
Even though it is talked about, activists say the amount of attention to student debt isn't enough. Watching politicians complain about it on TV is one thing, but getting to see how it affects real-life students in crisis is a whole other picture.
Meet Harrison Schultz, a PhD hopeful whose debt has become so big he gets anxiety attacks every time the mail is delivered. Harrison was planning to become a professor of sociology. Instead, he became an activist, first with Occupy Wall Street, now with a new protest movement promoting the so-called NEED Act to make education free.
You know about the Federal Reserve? A little. If you want to get money out of politics, that's where it starts. That's how Wall Street owns our government. You get money every year for free just to live off of.
To make ends meet, in between campaigning and studying, Harrison also works as a phone sex worker.
I'm barely making it. I mean, I'm like 4 months behind on this rent. I'm at least $15,000 behind on the house I got kicked out of earlier this summer. I have credit card debt. I have medical debt from protesting my student loans. I got clubbed over the head in Chicago 3 times by riot police, and I've so much debt. And I don't, there's no job, there's no salary that I'm qualified for that will help me get out of that.
And he's not alone. A recent study done in 7 states, including New York, Pennsylvania, and California, surveying over 4,300 students, revealed that 1 in 5 had gone hungry in the last month due to a lack of funds. 13% had experienced homelessness within the year, while half had jobs or received financial aid but claimed it wasn't enough. It's not a secret how expensive getting a higher education at America's top schools has become. But even colleges ranked way below the top 100 are becoming a heavy financial burden for students, already forcing some to go to extremes merely to make it through.
Hello, slave. You ready to begin your confession?
Igor Piskunov, RT, reporting from New York.
Have you ever been hypnotized before?
Now, the BBC is criticized for receiving money from Brussels ahead of a referendum on whether Britain should leave the EU. More on that story after a short break.
When one interest rate cut fails, try another. When $1 trillion in bad debts transferred to the central bank balance sheet fails to revive the economy, try $2 trillion. When money fails to flow from the board of private bank and corporate balance sheets, give them more money. When debt starts to fail, double the debt load. Yes, we're truly insane. So why not try something new?